Hello, guys, and welcome back. This is Pete Dahlgren building Mears Models F86. And what I got going here today is I'm working on getting the tops and the flaps and the ailerons done and starting to get some stuff filled in and starting to get the final shape. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm almost ready to start glassing the fuselage. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I have all my fillets and little things build up into the wing and got them fitting in real nice. And what I got to do now here, guys, is now I've got the flat top done. It's open and it's just clamped on there. And what I'm doing is I'm getting this so I can actually skin this inside here and get this all done and kind of build up to where I boogered up on the wing a little bit. Now, not a hard fix, but nonetheless, it just takes a little bit of time. And what I've done here is I came back about a quarter of an inch from the inside of the lip on this right in here. As you can see, about a quarter of an inch. I can always sand that down a bit, and it's just rough. It hasn't been sanded down yet. And what I'm doing is I'm fitting the aileron in here, and I'm getting ready to sheet it. But what I'm doing here is this gets put in, and what I'm doing is trying to trim and fit all this to fit in here really nice and tight. So basically, as it is, we got to take and sand these all in, these parts in here to fit in there. And then we'll have to sand the flap pocket right in here to fit everything else in here. You got to sand all this stuff out. So basically, this needs to be flush right in here. And this needs to be done. So what we got to do is just kind of bump it over just a little bit just to make it fit a little bit better. And that will usually just about do it. And then we'll sand this gap in here to make this fit even nicer than it is. We don't want it too tight because then you'll bind. But just by tapping it in, we can come back into these areas. It's kind of hard to do this handed. And what we want to do is make sure that we got everything done. Now, the reason I have this extra long here now is because you want to make sure that when you have this to sheet these parts in here, you need to have enough to sand this flat. And what this will do is it'll give it a, when you sand your skin in there, it'll give it a lot stronger trail. And let me take this off here real quick and I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. Now, this is a freaking mess. Sorry about that, guys. Well, anyway, you want to be sanding your edges so that they're like this. And what this is going to do, if you have a little bit of a bevel and a cap on here like so, what you're going to have is when you put another piece in there, it's going to give it, what this does is it gives it a really good gluing surface. And as you can see, once it goes up there with the other rib, which you're going to have to put in, by the way, you're going to have to make this work for you. Once you get it in there, this gives a lot better clamping area, and it'll make it just makes it a lot nicer. You're going to have to make a piece that's at least, but I'll alternate it so that this laminated piece goes to the back, because this is the bottom. And the reason you want to do your top sheets first and not your bottom, it's not because of, it is not because of the fact is it's easier to work and put all your guts in there. It's very important on your wings that when you do, sorry, dusty in here. Anyway, when you are doing your wings, your airflow vacuum is to the top of the wing. And it doesn't matter if it's a symmetrical, fully symmetrical, semi-symmetrical. It doesn't matter. Your vacuum, all of your stress and every bit of the pull and the lift of your wing comes from the top of your wing. So when you glue that, it's very important that it is absolutely critical that you have that completely glued and back glued like I've shown a lot of you and how I do this. And just to show you a little bit more about it, I'm going to show you what my back gluing looks like and actually why I do it. And it's important that it's done in every aspect of the build that you're doing. And it's also important that you do not skimp on the glue. Don't try to get neat and pretty about it. And I'm going to show you on this because a few guys have asked me, I'm going to show you with a couple pieces of scraps the difference of what the joints are. Now I'm just going to break this in half. And what we're going to do here, this is not something that we're going to worry about too much. I need a gluing mechanism. I don't know what to do with it. Okay. And this is why I use these syringes, guys. And a lot of you have been asking. So anyway, give me a second here. I'm going to figure a way to set this up. Anyway, it should work maybe for a second. Okay, well, now we're assuming that you can see what's going on. Now I'm going to do, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to show you kind of how you true it up. And I do this with all my parts and get them so they're nice and straight. If you glue one, you want to make sure there's nothing in it. Now, just for the sake of argument, I'm just going to take this piece, and I use these syringes because of the fact is I can get the glue on there. Well, this is not what you want it to look like. That's no good. That sucks. So you want to go in there and put the booger to it and actually get some glue on that thing and make sure it's just about ready to run over the top of that. This is the way it should look. So then when you do push it down, you got a really cool, nice little fill of glue. Now, this being said, that will glue up, that'll be stronger than the wood itself. And then I just come up like so, and I will just go in on both sides of this after this is dried, just for the sake of argument, and I will put a fillet of glue just like that. And that's why I use these, is because it does work out extremely well. This little piece here will not break right there on the glue joints. I can guarantee that it will not. It'll break everywhere else, but it will not ever break right in here. Now, here's the reason why, and this is how I do my gluing. It's just a lot. That will shrink back. And if you look at it, that is a perfectly good, it's already strong. It's barely even been sitting there. In 24 hours, you wouldn't even be able to cut that thing off there without ruining the wood. And this is just scrap wood that I did this just to show you guys what this is really about. And this is something that guys get in trouble with. And the reason I'm telling you about all this is because when we start glassing the wing, if you don't have enough glue while you're clamping, and I use a shitload of these things, and what I can't get on there to get with the clamp, I use a good old roll of tape. And I've been talking about that a lot because the fact is, tape and things like that are just, they're amazing to have. And, you know, they simplify things and it's cheap. And when you're building a $10,000 jet, you got no reason to be wanting to go and do anything cheap on this airplane. Just not a good idea. There's no way you can build this airplane and not have the best of what you need in there. I mean, you got to make that commitment. So now that we looked in there, this is what those joints look like close up when they are done. And they go, and I go both sides of everything, fellas. And it looks okay, and you know, it is okay. Now, another thing I'm doing while I'm waiting for other stuff, I have just started to go in the inlet of where the turbine is going to go. What I'm doing here is I'm with aluminum tape. It's just aluminum duct tape, and that will, if there's any blow off from the turbine when it's starting, that'll keep that wood from catching on fire and actually hold that out of there. You don't have to do it. I'm doing it just because I saw somebody else do it, and I thought it looked pretty good. I will do that in that compartment and this compartment to keep this. I will also, there is an engine fire, doesn't catch the gas tanks on fire. So that's another little option that you guys want me thinking. It doesn't cost but maybe about $5 or $6 to get that tape into it. It's no big deal. Another thing before we start the glassing process is the main body work is just about done here. And one thing I did want to talk to you guys about it before you do final sanding, and I'm sure you're going to get some dents and dings in this thing. Don't sand out the dings. Okay. The secret to getting this really good and nice is I use window cleaner. And it's just standardized anything with ammonia in it. And I will actually spray and saturate this, and it cases the wood. It's what it does. It raises that grain, and it'll get it to where it actually will take. And if you got a little ding anywhere in the airplane before you glass it, what will happen if you sand that out? Once you put the resin to it, it swells back up, and you can see exactly where the repair was. You get it wet first and sand it off, it raises it back to normal, and then you can just go ahead and sand it as you're going to get it ready. I will finish this with 120 grit paper, and I will be able to see a lot of the highs and lows. But I do not want to go out there and get this airplane too straight. That kind of defeats the purpose, and I've talked about this a lot of times before. Now, this one is pretty much finished sanded the way it's going to be. And this side will be here, and then I will go through and I'll put a piece on the inside here, and then I will just spot fill that. And I prefer to fill first, and the reason being for it is because you don't want to be sanding your fiberglass. It's just not a good idea. And I would invite you to go and see. There are several really good videos on glassing technique. The best I know of anywhere is Bob Moore. And I have used his methods on wings and everything else, and it's phenomenal. If you go in there and watch what he does, he makes it look very easy, and it is. I've been eating freaking dust all morning, guys. Sorry. But the main thing here is to keep everything as simple as you possibly can. Now I've got a freaking disaster in this shop, and I'm running out of room because of the final fitting and everything that's going on in here. And that it's exciting, but it's annoying at the same time because you know you're so close to getting everything done that you can make a mistake by not double checking everything there is. Now the next step I will do here, now that I've done all my main sanding, I got most of my body work and everything done, what I will do is I will come back and backfill any little heavy spot, any full big things like where my clamps bit this thing too hard, because this was a kind of a troubled area to do. And again, like I tell a lot of people, I would actually spray the whole entire wood structure down with glass cleaner, let it dry overnight before you do your final sanding. And while it's wet, look at it very carefully. If you missed any spots, like if you missed a spot right here or anything, and it's easy to do, it to go through and double check your gluing. You got areas like this, nah, just do them. We're going to look it over very carefully. The one thing is that by spraying it down, the wood's going to move. If you're using ammonia, it'll come back to where it is when it dries out. You can go back and you can look at areas and actually see anything that you missed. And it's really not a difficult task. It takes a little bit longer to do it that way. But we're not about speed, you know, and yes, this jet has come a long ways from its kit form. It's a very big airplane. And so, yeah, it takes a lot of time and a lot of deal. And so far, I've used 80 sheets of wood on this, and I made a lot of 6-inch pieces and this and that. It can be done. And before and again, if you guys have not watched a lot of the other videos, I've showed how to do the planking. And you got to do it. And some of these planks are small. Some are 1/4 inch wide, some are 1/2 inch, some are 3/8, some are there. It's just going to be whatever you're comfortable with to make sure it's all done. And that last piece I put in, that has not been sanded off yet. So I got to take the wing off after I finish what I'm doing over there at the flap. You get the aileron sheeted. I will turn this over and sand this off. And then I'll come back and I'll fill any of the gaps that are done. And I use Bondo spot putty. And as long as it's got a hardener, that's what you really want. And if you see any areas stand out, this has not been final shape. You can see it's got a big whip in it right there. These will disappear too. And this has not been sanded yet. You can also, if you want to go ahead and glass them, it will go in there, but I'm going to give you a warning about that. And when you start glassing, you want to make sure that you've got your biggest areas sanded down as flat as you possibly can get them, and that because you don't want to see flat spots everywhere. You're going to be priming and filling forever if you don't do this now. And that's why I do that. I do it before I glass it. That wood is never going to split out of there. That is basically oxy that whole nose together, more or less. And I think one of the biggest things that needs to be remembered is that the fiberglass is not for strength. And it's not a composite structure, even though it's covered in fiberglass. There's no way, and it's never going to be anything but a wood structure. So it's very important that you go through and double check, make sure everything is glued. And I will just say this, and a lot of guys that have been dealing with composites for a long time will tell you exactly the same thing, is that if you are relying on the fiberglass to give this airplane strength, you build it wrong. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm building this on YouTube, because this one absolutely is built right. And it's First time for me on something like this to do this because, well, again, if you're building this airplane, you know you got a PDF. And then you're on your own. You're basically putting a puzzle together for all these bulkheads all the way through. You got to put all that, figure it all out, put all this together. It's actually very easy. And then you're on your own. I mean, you are scratch building the rest of this airplane. And for those of you that are out there that are doing this first time, man, I'll tell you, you're braver than I am, because there's no way in hell I would have tried this as a first time. But you know what? I would not be afraid of this. I think one of the biggest things with doing this, seeing how this is the first jet I've ever built, I've built lots and lots of Roarebirds. I've built Bob Rice models. I've built Zeroles. I've done a hell of a lot of top flights. And, you know, there's other things that come out that little tiny things, even from the top flight kits, are techniques that I use on this. And they're not even a really big difference. The only difference is that's a kit form, and they already know what the part is supposed to be to build that airplane because they've done hundreds of them. But when you do something this big, that is basically a kit that's building the wing, I'm going to show you just how much work goes into that, because this is an unfinished wing, and I did this on purpose, that a lot stronger than it already is. And it's not hard to do. You go from that to this, and it actually, there's a lot of things to build into it. You've got to figure it out. Nothing is impossible. You know, I like to inspire people to get out and build something. ARPs just don't do it for me. I've had a couple and I just don't like them. I mean, there's some that are really good, but they're gone. And I'm not a composite nut to where, and it's not just that, I can't afford to go and buy an Air World airplane. And I'm sure a lot of you will agree that you can almost build this whole airplane for what that kit costs. And it's not that tough. I think one of the big things is we're going to start going into actually looking at what it's going to take to glass this. Now, I use this stuff here. This is 1 ounce. And basically what we're going to be doing here, this I get from Zeroli Plans. And the reason I like this is because it's not starched. And it will droop and it'll carry itself over everything. My resin that I use is epoxy, of course. And what we're going to be doing here with a lot of this is actually going through, and I'm going to use a different method of wet out. And the reason I do it that way is because, well, it can be, this is a calamity with a lot of things, so a lot of people will actually tell you, don't do it. I'm telling you, this is why I do it. I thin that out with the natured alcohol. And I will brush it in wet. And I will dab off with a roll of toilet paper. I'll get any puddles. I won't get any on it, by the way, because I've done quite a few of them that way. I have never, ever had a wet outed model by doing it with the alcohol method and a brush. I have never one time ever had anything ever come out bad. If you looked at my Spitfire, if you're on my Facebook page, take one good look at my Spitfire. That thing had 3 coats of resin on it. I was able to wet sand the resin out. And when I put the primer on it, I only had to go with 2 coats of automotive grade 2K primer, which the first one completely, almost sanded completely off, but it filled the weave. And the second one, as long as you're using a high build, you're going to be able to get rid of any of these flat spots by doing that. But I use a 2K high build primer because it's catalyzed and it is actually, it's going to adhere to this epoxy awesomely. I've never ever had it peel off. For those of you that don't understand fiberglass cloth and what it's actually about, this is 1 ounce per 1 yard. And the main thing about it is that the resin, it does not take a lot of this stuff. It really does not at all. So I think one of the biggest things that people kind of go and talk about is this too, is it kind of scares them on the mixing. One thing I'm going to tell you, you always favor the resin, never the hardener. If you're going to go over on the hardener, it's not going to make it cure faster. As a matter of fact, it ruins it. If you're going to go light on anything, you go light on the hardener. The resin is what you need. So let's say you go and you do a 1/2 ounce resin and you put 3/4 ounces of hardener to it. You didn't make it go any faster. Less is more that way. So the Z-Epoxy is foolproof. If you do it 50-50 and you use pill mixing bottles or something like a NyQuil cup or something like that, you're going to see it and you're going to be able to do it. And the nice thing about it is it floats on top of each other. So you're going to get an equal shot on it. And it's like I said, I bought 2 of these because we got a lot of parts here and I want to make sure that I don't run out, because you can't get it locally. Not in this area. We don't have enough builders in the Washington State area or the Seattle area to warrant carrying stuff like that. So I order it through Zeroli. And the reason it is because I've dealt with him forever. And if you guys have ever talked to that guy, he's a crack up. He's amazing. Really wonderful person. And also, I noticed Bob Rice is on board with us now and actually watching the show. And you know, my hat's off to you, sir. You know, I've built a lot of your airplanes too, and Jerry Bates, all of them. I've done all of them, and I love them all. I think one of the biggest things is that the camaraderie with people doing this and other people coming to see what another person's bringing to the plate is there. But guys, I built this whole entire airplane with the only power tool I've used on this so far is a drill. Saws, X-Acto knife, ballpoint pen, lots of clamps, and a crap load of this is what I've used. And that's all I've used to build this airplane. I don't use power tools when I build. Not unless I need to drill a hole, and I only drilled a couple in this thing so far. But we will be I will be showing you how I'm going to be making the gun maker. And this, we will put in some holes in here, and then we will turn this. We were going to cover this in sandpaper. Then we're going to come in, we're going to drill some holes here as soon as I figure out what they are. But again, we're not doing the 3 because I'm making this a naval version. This is also going to be part of the tail hook material that I'm going to be building, and it will work. It'll drop down. Some other things we're going to be doing. And that I will use a drill because I like to make my things with a hand lathe. Now, if you guys, again, if you ever watched what I did on my Spitfire, I made all the gun cannons with an electric drill. And I just turned them with sandpaper, and it turned out really good. And I used bolts and nuts and anything else I could make to make them look real. And we're going to do the same thing here. And I think one of the coolest things about all this is because I learned from watching some really cool guys like Hemi Storm and all that. I saw how he made some radiators with Plastistructs, and I loved it. So when I got into doing, I started doing that with the Spitfire, and I got some really amazing results. That interior of that airplane was beautiful. It was amazing, and that's what we're going to do with the cockpit on this, guys. We're going to build it ourselves, and it's a lot of fun, and that will probably take as much time as the detail. Now, another thing that a lot of guys have been asking me is about the contours, how I got them so good. Now, I'm going to ask you guys to go and look through my video collection here, and I'm going to show you the wet forming. Look for that. When I made the insides of this, I needed to make them rounded. I needed these all to be rounded, and this had to be done so that these doors would actually move in and out and actually come back in and actually fit inside each other. So when the lineal actuators are in there, they'll actually move in and out, because the airplane does not come with these marked out. You're going to have to put them in, but you're going to have to build it. Every single piece of wood, with the exception of the planked areas, when I put it on, I wet formed it. This is what you need to do that. You need a pail that's at least 40 inches. You need it as long as the wood that you're going to be doing. And you get the hottest water you can get. Now, you don't want it so hot it's going to burn you, but about 150, 160 degrees is usually just about right. And then you put in 1 cup of ammonia for every gallon of water. And you let it soak for no more than probably about 10 minutes, I guess. And that will usually make the wood so you can damn near turn it inside itself. You can take a 6-inch piece and make a balsa wood tube out of it by wrapping it around like a paper towel roll. You can damn near make it roll inside of itself if you do it that way. And once it dries, it stays that way. It makes it easier to clip in place. If you look inside this airplane, there's no air gaps in there. There are none. In those curves, you get them wet, put them on there, never going to have an issue. It just takes twice as long to sheet the airplane. But if you figure it out, you won't do it any other way after that. So I think one of the biggest things with building these airplanes is, now that we're coming to a close on the actual building of the airplane, we're going to be going into the detailing of the airframe. The only thing we got left is to finish up the wings. We got to build some boxes, and I'm going to show you with one. I'm going to build that one off camera completely. This one, step by step in this, and then I'll just go over and do the other side. But I thank all of you for watching this series. Now, the next series on this is actually going to be, after we start glassing and priming, will be the detailing. And again, we're using Mears RC detail sets, and they're fantastic. They make anything look amazing. I ordered rivets. I love rivets. I think rivets are just badass. It's almost like looking at a great blonde walking down the beach in a thong. To me, that is beautiful, and it's just one of these deals where the more the better. I mean, I don't expect anybody to share a lot of my enthusiasm for thongs, but I just think they're cool. But the thing is that I want you guys to understand that it's the effort and the detailing that will transform this jet into something that resembles the real thing. And we are going to go through a lot of Scotch tape and a lot of transfer film, a lot of chart pack tape, and we're going to make this thing look flipping amazing. And I won't be doing a lot of talking during the detailing on this, because I'm actually going to set you guys on a tripod, and I'm going to do some half-hour live cast, or as long as I can go on these. And then what I will be doing is actually physically showing the process of measuring it. I'll stop and I will explain the measuring process and that. But in order for me to get this airplane in glass and be completely ready to go and things like that, I've got to really put my nose to the grindstone on there if I'm going to even be remotely considered to be ready for Top Gun. Now, we still got things ordered. We're going to be talking about landing gear and why I'm doing what I'm doing when it gets here, if it gets here. But anyway, I will be actually talking about the servos, what we're doing, where we're going. We're going to be talking about the Royal system, and actually I'm going to be using a DX18 in this with the new setup. And I've been assured by Peter Goldsboro that it's an amazing setup. That's what he uses, and if he trusts it to put it in a $20,000 jet, then I'll absolutely trust it. And if you guys know who that is, he's a pretty remarkable guy. One hell of an instinctive and great builder, fast as hell too. So I think one of the things is too that I want to bring up, those of us that build wood models, we do this by choice. I love the detailing process. I love how I feel about it when it's done, and I know that it didn't come out of a mold. But I don't want you guys to take that in any wrong way. There's just as much work that goes into one of those fiberglass fuselages as it does to build this. It's just the details are done, they're a little faster, they're lighter, and they're actually very strong and as composite structures. And again, if you want to do something like that, then again, look at Bob Moore, because that guy is the master, and very impressed with what he's done. If you guys have not seen the Citation that they built from scratch and this and that, and made all the molds for, and foam core, and his unobtainium, which is honeycomb, you can get it Boeing surplus. It's not unobtainable. Well, not in Seattle, it's not. But anyway, we got Boeing right here, a lot of Boeing crap. But anyway, we got everything basically almost ready, other than landing gear and wings. The fuselage is done. And we're going to be starting with glassing this particular piece, and it's going to be a deal where we're just going to kind of wing it and do it. And this is my latch, a bolt. That's what I did. It's got a nut in there. Very easy, really easily done. The little things that you build into this are things that are going to be amazing when you're finished. Again, I thank everybody for watching. And when I'm actually in Frankfurt, Germany, and actually talking about this stuff, I hope that I've inspired enough of you, to go out and build a dream. It's the way I see life in general. All you need is a plan. Nothing in this world is unachievable. Anything that you do, if you follow your heart, your dream, you got it made. Never ever let anybody tell you you can't do something. When they do that, you laugh at them, and take your finger and you poke it in your eye as hard as you can and say, mind your own business. None of this is out of anybody's grasp. I learned this from watching some pretty amazing people. And I got famous for it just because I did. I got lucky. Not because I'm the best there is, because I certainly am not. But most of my friends have turned out to be some of the best builders in the world. With that being said, welcome to the club. We'll see you in the funny papers, guys.